call the June 19th meeting of the Wheaton Park District Board of Commissioners to order. Mike, please take the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaft.
Here.
Commissioner Schobel.
Here.
Commissioner Morrow. Here. Commissioner Mee.
Here.
Commissioner Hodgkinson.
Here.
Commissioner Luchihans.
Here.
President Kelly.
Here. Mike, first order of business. I understand we have a presentation tonight.
We do. We are recognizing Michael O'Malley, Eagle Scout candidate, or are we Eagle Scout in name and deed, Mr. O'Malley? Are you an Eagle Scout today?
Yeah.
Excellent. Rob Spurl, our Director of Planning, who worked with Michael, as well as some of our members of our Parks and Planning Department, has a presentation. So Rob and Michael, if you could come on up, that would be wonderful.
Okay, we have a certificate tonight that's going to be presented to Michael. The Wheaton Park District Board of Commissioners recognizes Michael O'Malley, Troop 34. This project designed and constructed 4 wood cabinets that will provide storage for the day camps that use the Boy Scout cabin at Northside Park. These cabins were fabricated from quality wood that will last for a long time and feature a unique wheel design that allows for easy movement within cabin. So it's dated this 19th day of June 2013. So with our gratitude, we thank you. Thank you.
The Park District has a rich tradition of partnering with the Boy Scouts, and I couldn't put a number on how many Eagle Scouts we have partnered with to earn their rank. Rob, any idea in the last 5-6 years? Probably well over a dozen. Yeah. We're very proud of that partnership. Thank you, Mr. O'Malley.
Community input. Mike, is anybody signed up?
I believe we have one. Mr. Bob Krzyzewski, 213 West Willow.
Thank you. I'm here today about the Taste of Wheaton Safety. I want to tell you, 7 years ago, I was tasked to inform Mr. Bernard that we were going to remove the 3 rides from his Cream of Wheaton. And I said, wait a second, to the owner, let's see what we can do here. I talked to Mike about it. He wanted to do a big festival. He agreed to do it. I could not have been more proud. He asked me if I'd help him. This is the first time I've done a 3-block long carnival for the city of Wheaton. We've never had this before. I've had a top lot separated from the big kids. They feel more safely. And in addition to that, we've had pre-sales of wristbands so the PTA could make money, and we would make guaranteed money as well. Now, on the first year we did it, the city wanted to keep a lane of traffic open on Liberty. And this lane of traffic was really a problem. We had told them it was going to be, they should close the road. So after the first year they learned, they closed the road. And we've made improvements the second and third year as well. At 10 o'clock at night, Dan Novak and I would come out and we would close the roads. And the fourth and fifth year, on the Sunday night before Memorial Day, I would close the roads and the parking lots to ensure safety for unloading and the development of the carnival. Now, this past year, Dan came out again, and I closed the roads. We didn't have enough barricades, and in addition to that, he wanted to change some things, like taping an area of parking meters, which really was unnecessary. He told me, okay, he's going home, that's it. The next day, on Tuesday came open. He came and he opened the lot on Liberty, and we had, I'm the only guy for 80 hours plus a week during those 8 days that is the volunteer in a golf cart. I go through about 2 tanks of gas. And I've got pace buses running the wrong way down a 1 lane against traffic. I've got UPS guys stopping their trucks. So hopefully in the future, it will not be a good thing to do in the future. I tried to question Dan about this in the most arrogant, demeaning fashion. He stated, I just don't listen. On Sunday, after that, I called Mike up and he said, hey, Dan's in charge. He's running the show. He's got permission from the police this year. And during Sunday, the following Sunday, a radio station was looking to get a hold of him. They couldn't. I found him. He came down. And after that, on the Midway, in this God-fearing community, on the Midway, in front of women and children, he ran up to me and he goes, "You told Bernard, you talked to Bernard." And I was on the receiving end of 5 minutes of vulgarity and cursing right in the Midway in front of the good Lord and everybody. And then on top of that, after that, a man came up to me and he said, "There were two guys that put stuff on the tracks." Okay, there you go. The man kicked the stuff off the tracks. This was still laying up against the railroad tracks, right in the heart of it. And I tried to approach Dan. "What do you want to do? You want to call Homeland Security? You want to call the police? You want to make a note? You want to bury it?" Every time I go by him, I get right along the Midway, scream, "You're an idiot. I got no leadership out of this guy. I didn't get any help. I didn't get any direction. All I got was vulgarity and insults." I would hope that we can go back to the old Dan. And the reason is, we've got the 4th of July parade coming up, of which I've been able to assist and honored to assist Mike over the past 5 years. We've had no gaps in the correct lineups, and it's been going really smooth. But we're going to be working up there, and Dan's got the north end of it. So I hope this thing can be resolved. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
No. All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Anyone else sign up?
Thank you, thank you. Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. I need a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda items A and B, striking C.
Second, do have one modification in the presentation section of May 15th, 2013. Not that I was at it, but the spelling of the gentleman's name is Wichlinski.
We'll correct it.
Anybody else? Anybody, please take the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaft,
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel,
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Meade,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodgkinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lukehans,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Unfinished business. Item 1, ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement for lease.
Move to table ordinance number 2013-03.
Second.
Any discussion?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 2, Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee update, Northside Park Development update, and approval of a change order. Mike?
Subsequent to Tuesday morning's Finance Subcommittee meeting, some information was distributed to the board concerning the change order regarding contract time, as well as a comprehensive change order above contingency was emailed out. I do have hard copies of that this evening. If it would assist anyone to have that, I would be happy to distribute it if you weren't able to see it via email.
I'll just pass them down.
Okay, we'll pass them down. So, short of that, I would yield the floor to President Kelly to review the change orders in excess of contingency for the parking lot project, Northside Park, final phase.
On the page, well, it's on the first page of the SIBO memo is where the initial contingency was listed at $135,874. If you remember, the board approved that contingency for unsuitable soil before we started the parking lot phase of the project. And we overran that budget by about $78,000 in unsuitable soil. We ran into unsuitable soil in most of the parking lots and in the roadway. So SIBO was on site. There was a unit cost in the contract to cover unsuitable soil. SIBO did the measurements. And this is the final change order on that contract. Now, I asked Mike to put together, since this is the final phase of the Northside Park project, I thought you'd like to see how that project did. Mike, and Mike's got that up on the board, and we have some copies.
My eyesight's not that
Well, if anyone knows how to turn those lights off, that would be helpful, but I'm not the person.
But basically, Northside Park was initially budgeted as a $13,825 project. And our final costs, not counting the grant, right, our actual costs, not counting the grant, were $8,587,000. So the job came in approximately $4.4 million below budget for all phases of the Northside Park project. And then in addition to that, we got a $1.15 million grant that also helps out. And what we did was we broke it down by parking lots and by roads and everything else. So you can see, even with this change order, the parking lots and the roads came in substantially below budget, almost $1.5 million below budget. So the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee is recommending approval of a final change order in the amount of $78,923.58.
So moved. Second.
I don't know who did the math here, but I got 5.3 million. And I know the chart says 4.4, but I think we're 5.3 under budget.
We'll check our sum key on the Excel.
I think the 1.15 went in there somehow, Rob, I think that's probably what happened.
You know, I think I had added a couple of things, and it was, it's summing the total of the differences and not across the board there.
Right.
So, yeah, it's,
Okay.
might be off.
So even better news.
That's my point.
Yeah.
If it was the other way, I probably would have ignored it. but-
The bad news is we can't add.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion?
It is 5, Phil, by the way.
Thank you.
So I have to say that I'm glad we went with the parking lots as the permeable pavers. I think we, in Wheaton, have situations where we have overpaved too much, and we all know the consequences of that, and I'm glad that the district took that initiative and moved forward with it. I wish that we could see that elsewhere throughout our community, but unfortunately not other public organizations feel the same way, so I'm glad that the Park District did so.
Thanks, Ken. Anybody else? Hey, Mike, please take the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel,
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Meade,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodgkinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Lutke-Hans,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes.
Do we need to address as a second vote the issue of the contract timing, or was that included in the?
I think it's all in one change order, wasn't it? Or was it?
I don't think it
No.
was. I think we
It
need.
should be spelled. The time extension was in the change order, correct?
No, that's a separate page.
Do we have the actual CBEL change order form that we're gonna sign? Usually the time extension and the money is in the same document that's issued to the contract. I know this is just a memo. We don't have the change order. Okay, so we should address the time extension now, and then we'll direct CBEL to put both the cost and the time extension in the change order that I'll sign.
Move to grant the time extension requested.
Second.
Any discussion?
To clarify, time extension request dated May 28th and June 12th.
The ones approved by SEMA.
Correct, thank you.
Yeah, the ones in the CBEL memo of June 13th. Again, Mike, take the roll.
Commissioner Lutke-Hans?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodgkinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Meade?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderschaff?
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. New business item 3, Central Athletic Center Development Update. There will be no approval of a change order tonight. We'll give you a quick update. Bergen has been waiting to do its site work. Part of it's been contingent upon Randolph Construction getting certain aspects done on the Mariano's project. Bergen returned to the site today to remove the sidewalks on the west side of the building so that Mariano's can put the new curb and road in, and then Bergen will immediately follow behind and pour the sidewalks, the emergency exit walks on the west side of the building. Mariano's completed the sewer work that was going through the parking lot on the north side of the building. So Bergen started that work today, which is the new handicap spaces, curb, sidewalk, and paving. So Bergen is back on site now, on schedule to finish our site work. That's really all that's left on the job. There are a few open change order items, and there's some issues with one of the subs went out of business towards the end of the job. So there's some stuff going on with making sure all the suppliers and everybody get paid before we can close up Oregon. So we'll give you another update, but I don't think there'll be any change order discussion until at least a month, just to settle the last of the few remaining items. Anybody have any questions? Okay, and the next update, buildings and grounds, the update on the Seven Gables pathway replacement project. We've reached an agreement with the bonding company. The bonding company is gonna step in, and they've gone through a bidding process, and they've come up with a contractor. They're gonna tender to us to finish the job. We'll be reimbursed 100% of the cost of finishing, plus legal fees. So, that's moving forward. I would assume something will happen in the next 30 days on that. We'll get a contract signed with the new contractor, and he'll get out there and take care of the paths this summer. So our out-of-pocket costs will be exactly what we bid the company that did not honor his contract. Questions? Okay. New business, Finance Subcommittee, the annual review and approval of financial policies for the Wheaton Park District. So we want to
Move to approve the financial policies of the Park District with one modification. I talked to Rita about this a minute ago. Paragraph, it's the fourth page, paragraph E. It says, on the last sentence of E, also any purchases made using the state contracts or any purchasing consortium. And then we're going to add the word as permitted by applicable state statute, just one word. Otherwise, everything's the same.
Okay. So who was the second?
Second.
Was right. Any discussion or questions? No, Mike, take the roll.
Commissioner Lukian? Yes. Commissioner Hodgkinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Meade?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandershav?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. Next new business item is the Wheaton Park District Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the fiscal period ending December 31st, 2012.
The combined, the comprehensive annual financial report was reviewed by the Finance Subcommittee. There were no material changes or clarifications requested as far as the actual document was concerned, and the report was finalized, the management letter was finalized and tendered to the board last week. There were some follow-ups in the form of some clarifications and highlights that were requested several weeks ago, and I have to apologize that they're just materializing today. My fault, not the finance department's, that were requested by Commissioners Lukian and President Kelly. And if I might review them just for the record, I think they're all under the heading of good news. There was a clarification requested, if you wanted to follow along, on MD&A page 3. What was making up the $10.1 million related to the change in asset balance for Central Athletic Center. The purchase price of $3.25 million plus improvements. The reason that the $10 million figure is listed is because of the value of the land that was donated from Bradford Real Estate through the figure up beyond what we've seen out of pocket. So there's the clarification there regarding MD&A page 3. Second clarification, why is General Recreation and Capital Projects Fund showing reductions in fund balances? And this is, again, these are details, but they're important that you wouldn't normally pull out of a CAFR. But as a brief example, the General and Recreation Funds budgeted transfers to the Capital Projects Fund from fund reserves above policy retention levels, as we discussed over the last several, if not 3 fiscal years. The transfers are consistent with the district's fund balance policy. The general fund had a reduction in the fund balance of $587,000, recreation $802,000, which went to the 40 fund or the Capital Projects Fund to fund playground development, athletic field development, land acquisition should that occur. At the end of the day, these net proceeds above and beyond fund balance retention policies, which is the amount of money we should have in the bank for 3 to 6 months of an annual operating cycle per fund, was then kicked to funding capital projects in addition to the capital project funds that are created through the issuance of general obligation bonds. Capital project fund shows a decrease simply because we spent that amount of money in capital projects between the purchase of the old Hubble facility as well as the many capital projects that we've been discussing over the year of 2012. Next page, our statement of cash flows for our proprietary fund, which is our Arrowhead Golf Club Fund. You will see that between operating activities as well as capital expenditures, the golf course at the end of the day in 2012 netted in excess of $1 million between golf operations and food and beverage operations. The expenditures that drew down that cash position for 2012 was the completion of the South Bunker project, which was a 2011 project, which carried $26,000 over into 12. The entire West Golf Course bunker project for $385,000, and the purchase of a couple of greens rollers as authorized by the board for $20,000, for a total of $431,515 in capital, added to our cash position of $620 at the end of the year. So at the end of the day, Arrowhead Golf Club for the third straight year did net in excess of $1 million, putting money back into the park system as it was designed to do. Finally, within the general and recreation funds, we show a bottom line that is better than the anticipated budget, meaning we had more left over at the end of the year than the projected budget. The guide said we would, and at the end of the day, we have, I think we have our staff to thank for some cost-cutting measures, as well as we continue to get tighter and tighter in our budget process, as we've done with more of our special facilities, Arrowhead, Cosley Zoo, and so forth, where we get as close to the best picture as possible between our expenditures and what our projections for the next fiscal year are. So this money we did not spend that we anticipated spending, we do have the ability to spend for unforeseen issues, but I think what this is telling us here on page 54 and 55 is that in the general and recreation funds, we still have a little work to do to create a proposed budget for 14 that's more in line with our actual experiences of the previous year. That concludes the report on the follow-up requested from the Finance Subcommittee, and I have to defer to someone that knows more about it than me. I don't believe the board needs to formally accept the audit as opposed to just receiving it and putting it on public display. Is that accurate? So no action required. Any questions concerning the CAFR or the follow-up report? Thank you.
Okay, next item is the Lincoln Marsh Floating Boardwalk Project. We have bid results and recommendations.
Move to approve the low bid submitted by Team REIL in an amount of $235,095. Second.
Under discussion, I would add, if it's appropriate, that Rob helped me, $200,000 of this project is a grant, and the balance comes from the Roger Toohey Memorial Friends of Lincoln Marsh proceeds of 10 years of golf outings. I don't believe the district, outside of planning time, Rob's time, Steve's time, and so forth, has any out-of-pocket on this particular phase of the project. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Thank you.
Very good.
Any other discussion? Kim?
Rob, can you explain why one bid came in half the price of the other bid? Are we missing something?
The second bid that you see, the $500,000, they picked the packet of information up the day before, so I don't think they invested a lot of time in it and shot high.
Anybody else?
I have a question, sorry, about the grant. Is the grant up to $200,000 or matching, or 80% of $200,000?
It's 80% up to $200,000, so we'll fall just a little short of it.
Thank you.
Okay, so the 75 is coming to.
Correct.
Anybody else? Right?
Just a quick question. It appears as though there's about $58,000 that's left in the TWE Foundation or whatever it was called. What will happen with that $58,000? Ongoing maintenance or?
Well, we have been consulting with Mary Tui every time we go to the Friends of Lincoln Marsh, which operates under the umbrella of the Cosley Foundation, and suggest expenditures. And at this juncture, the possibilities include improvements to the team's course activities, possibly if we have restoration efforts related to the ecology that would be beyond our team's ability to handle in a timely fashion. You know, the short answer is there's a short list of things that we'd like to use it for, but we're not ready to go to Mrs. Tui and to the Cosley Foundation, Friends of Lincoln Marsh, and discuss it as of this point in time. We'd like to, as we've done here, leverage those charitably generated dollars with grant proceeds and other sources. So we don't have a project yet, I guess. Keep it short.
And there are no other plans for restarting the TUI outing at all, or?
The Tui family said 10 years was plenty.
They said enough.
They
yeah,
said it was
I
plenty. You know,
remember
the
that.
possibility of re-energizing an actual Friends of Lincoln Marsh group, as we have a Friends of Northside Park, and as the Cosley Foundation serves as a friends group to the zoo. I think that's the first next best thing we ought to do as it relates to Lincoln Marsh, is to organize and energize a group of residents who want to serve as that advisory body called the Friends of Lincoln Marsh, and take it from there.
Anybody else? Okay. Might take the roll.
Commissioner Vandershaft,
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel,
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mead,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodgkinson,
Yes,
Commissioner Lukihans,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. New business item 4, resolution 2013-05, authorizing a grant application to the development of natural resources, open space, land acquisition, and development program for development of outdoor recreational facilities at Central Park and Central Athletic Center.
If I may, as I mentioned in my agenda notes last week, we met with the Finance Committee, which also comprises the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and discussed the possible components and scope of this potential grant acquisition. Beyond what was forwarded to you, subsequent to that meeting, I've handed out the updated page of the grant that we'd be seeking. Would be $400,000 towards, which would be 50% of an $800,000 project. That would include lights, backstop, sideline fencing, infield improvements, field amenities, a walking path, and a playground at the newly acquired open space adjacent to the old Hubble facility that was just updated. The grant application deadline is in July, which is why this authorization form is before you today. I will issue the caveat that I'm in negotiation with the Department of Natural Resources regarding our turned down grant a year ago, July, for the Kelly Park project. Technically, and by the letter of the law, from the point of rejecting a grant, we would have to wait 2 cycles. I'm in dialogue with them. I'm not saying we'll be eligible this year, but I think we ought to be ready should we have some success in negotiating perhaps a time-served disbarment from 2010 and 11 and 12 from that grant. I'm not certain we can pull it off, but I'd like to be ready if we can, and I will keep you posted in that regard. I think we have a very good story to tell regarding this project we want to fund, as well as the utility-driven cost overruns related to the suspension of the Kelly Park project. If you recall, our choices were $100,000 over budget, or the loss of 50 or so mature trees for burying power lines. So we've got a good story to tell on why we turned the last one back, and our grant record is stellar other than that. We're going to give it our best shot. But in the meantime, we do need this resolution passed.
So move.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? We do roll call on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That's it for new business. We had some reports from staff. Yeah, Marty?
I just say, the athletic report from Brad, very, very good. Well done.
Yeah, Ray?
Couple things, page 61 of the athletic report, the athletic report, I echo what Mark said, it's very well done. By the way, I told staff before the meeting. But on page 61, I like the response to the survey questions or the evaluation that was done for the soccer program. There was a response to those, and I would think that that probably would be a good thing whenever you do a survey, whether it's baseball, football, soccer, basketball, whatever it may be, that you accumulate all the response from the parents and you come up with some kind of recommendations to those comments.
Perhaps not to put it in bold, though.
That's the only way I picked up on it. But it was I appreciated that, I did. And I still want to echo the fact that, in the report, and I guess it's on page 84, 1,344 volunteer coaches dedicated nearly 7,400 hours of their time to enhance the lives of the youth of Wheaton and save the Wheaton Park District close to $670,000 from having to pay coaches. I mean, that's amazing. The amount of involvement we get from our parents in our youth athletic programs to help make those programs successful, I think it's great. And we need to keep telling that story because it doesn't get told enough. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ray. Charlie?
I just want to recognize staff for the continual, very professional annual reports from, all of the departments. So you're doing a good job. Thank you.
Helen, did you have something?
No, as the newbie board member, I just want to say I've been so impressed with these reports, but I was also very impressed with everything involved with Taste of Wheaton and all the activity that went on there. And despite some people's patience levels or impatience because it was a pretty tough few days, I was really impressed with the whole thing. So, even though it's so-called Taste of Wheaton.
Phil?
I had some, thoughts that I wanted to relay to staff related to the Central Athletic Facility. I'm very happy when we change that someday. But the priorities as far as, actually just priorities for the rec department, starting with page 89. First of all, I want to really commend you on priority number 2 in the analysis you did. Honestly, it sold to me on the indoor synthetic turf in Central Athletic Center upstairs. I think it's a great idea. I would be one to support it. As far as the other ones, priority 3, dividers in the large gym and Kale gym. That one, just so you understand where I'm at, just one board member out of 7. Once the basketball program has the money, do it. I'm okay with it, but I don't think that's something that we should be doing at this point until they can really fund it, which it sounds like it's about a year away, I think. And then the priority number 4, volleyball floor sleeves. I think, for $5 grand, let's get that done, but that's just me. Those are my thoughts, thanks.
Kim?
So I kind of want to build on what Ray had brought up, and it's not simply athletics, because I think we do this elsewhere, but I'm not quite certain. When we do take these surveys, I think what is good is that we do make changes based on them, but I don't think we tell people enough that we're listening to what you have to say and we're making our programs better because of that. And so if we're going to reschedule events because people don't like parking, I think we need to promote that and say, you know what, we heard you, we're doing this instead, and so then there's that feeling that, we're listening to what you say. And I know we take surveys on several other things, we do it around camps and whatnot, and so I just want to get that information out to the public that we're doing that.
Yeah, so how can we do that, I guess? I think
Can we mail a recap to everybody who we sent the surveys to?
We could do that,
Well, we collect emails, don't we?
yes.
So you can email, I don't care whether it's mail or email, but we should probably
We can do
send
an
the
email
survey
blast.
results out.
Well, let's save trees.
I think we can get the recreation department and the other departments that take this input together with marketing, and perhaps that can be part of an annual report, you know, what have we done to respond
You know
and
what?
promote it.
Can I make a suggestion that you don't make it one large annual report, because you
Yeah.
get lost.
I per division.
I think when you get done with the soccer season, or whatever it is we're talking about, you go get these reports. And I think, you know, the extent you can make changes, or you're going to, you say, you know, within 60 days or 30 days after getting the surveys, hey, we heard you, here's the changes we're making, and you send it to everybody in the park district on our emails, just to look like we're proactive. And just do it, you know, so they get 5 of them a year, who cares?
Okay.
Because I think you got a better chance of them reading a short one than you do. You know, if you put this out, no one's gonna read it.
Right, talk to people who know about soccer.
Yeah, but you can email it to everybody, because that way it looks like, hey, we as a group are listening to you. And I think Kim's idea of doing that is a great idea, so let's figure out how we do it and get it done.
We'll do it.
Anybody else?
Have we moved on beyond the?
We're finishing reports from staff. Now we can go board subcommittee reports and discussions. I think we covered buildings and grounds and finance tonight, and I saw minutes were sent out from the policy committee last weekend. Does anybody have any questions on any of these subcommittee reports? I will note that for the future, the buildings and grounds and the finance committee, unless we have to have a special meeting in a hurry to settle the contract dispute, those will be noticed up, and at Tuesday's Buildings and Ground and Finance, we had 4 board members there, so thanks to the extra people who came. And we will keep those 2 noticed up, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on in those 2 committees.
So, yeah, the point is, I think we'd like your participation if anybody's available. It's early in the morning, but if anybody's willing to get up and do it, we'd love to have you.
Terry?
Yeah, if we will pass the athletic report, just want to make a couple of quick comments. Again, I want to commend the staff for all the hard work for the taste. I mean, that was a lot of stuff, again, as usual. You know, we had over 2,000 runners again. That seemed a little bit down from the year before, but it's not significant. I mean, we're still getting a good, significant amount of attention. Mike, do you think that, I know what the Pause Breakfast offers to staff, volunteers, and the public. Is it still something that you think is viable to still do? It's a big commitment by us.
Well, I for one would miss getting up at 3 a.m. if we didn't do it.
I'm sure you would.
No, I think it serves a very valuable function to feed the, how many volunteers do we use that day, Marge?
200.
We feed all of these volunteers, and I think it's a very important function, and we do have success annually with having a couple of members of the Cosley Foundation actually underwrite the cost of the breakfast. And anything we can make, you know, $20 at a time for just general people dropping in goes back to feed the animals, of course. So, short answer, I think we need to continue to do it.
Good enough. I see that, Margie, you started this text message event marketing program with Arrowhead Events. That's it's working out well, at least I'm getting. Are you getting some feedback from those texts?
We've gotten it through the restaurant staff, people talking about it.
Good.
Yeah, so it's working.
4th of July looks like we're well on our way. I did notice that Greg Burke is the Grand Marshal as the fire chief. However, he's no longer the fire chief. Are we recognizing him as the retired fire chief?
Yes, sir.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Kim?
So, Mike, this is for you, and I don't think there's a report, but the flooding back in April, and I was going through the AP, and we've got a lot of charges, a lot of things that we had to have vendors come in and do for us. Are we being reimbursed through any of the money that has been made available to the community to handle those expenses from the flooding?
We have both. We have claims in with FEMA as well as the Park District Risk Management Agency. The exact dollar amounts that we put in for claim escape me right now, but I'd be happy to follow up with the board. To the degree we have access to either insurance dollars or FEMA dollars, we have made our application. One of the items that we will be seeing reimbursement on, and maybe I'm ahead of you, Mark, are many of the new bunkers on the East Course, which held water for nearly a week. We will be reimbursed for the material and labor related to that.
That's your question.
Minus $1,000 deductible, of course.
No, the time's ticking.
Go ahead, Gordon.
Anyway, I was asked to pass this on as a participant in the FBI outing. The FBI was very, very impressed with our entire facility, the golf course and the banquet area, and they are considering making it a permanent location for their outing. So they're very, very happy.
Okay, anybody else? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mark, was that a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye. Anybody want to stay?
No, Mark does.
Thank you.